Next, we'll define the age range from 36 to 49 as the second category. So over here, there's also a range option. In other words, a range. Hello everyone. We're here with the 6th lesson of our SPSS from Scratch series. In our previous lesson, we explained how to reorganize the groups of a categorical variable. As an example, we had reorganized the groups for the education level question in our survey. We also reorganized the responses of a string type variable using the district you live in question. The topic of this lesson, as part of the preliminary preparations before analysis, is creating a categorical variable from a continuous variable. We often need this in our work as well. That's why we should know how to do this too. Once again, we'll explain our lesson using the sample survey and the current dataset on the screen. If you want to follow along with me, we'll continue working on the SPSS file we used in the previous lesson, which you can see on the screen right now. If you didn't do the previous lesson with us, you should download the file called Lesson 6, which is the version of this file at the end of the last lesson. You can find where to download the file in the video description. I'm assuming you've paused the video and downloaded the file, so let's start our lesson. The topic of our lesson is creating a categorical variable from a continuous variable. What do we mean by creating a categorical variable from a continuous variable? I want to explain this using our sample survey. I don't want to get into definitions. Here, in the second question, we asked participants to write down their age. We clearly asked them to write 23, 24, 30, 40, 50, whatever their age is, right here. The data we requested in this way is a continuous variable. We did not ask the participant to mark their age group in a categorical way. If we want to turn this into a categorical variable, we can, for example, make it categorical as shown in the top right here. We can create age categories such as 35 and under, 36 to 49, 50 to 59, and 60 and over. In this case, our variable, which previously had a continuous property, now starts to show a categorical property. Let's give another example. After that, we'll explain how we can do this in SPSS. Our second example is again from our same survey, which also includes a manager behavior scale. We've been working on this for several lessons. We also calculated the total score of the manager behavior scale. We calculated the total score here. The total score ranged from 9 to 45. We saved it into our dataset as a variable. We can see it here. However, I also want to record these as categories low, medium, and high based on the scores here. I want to create such a variable as well. Let me clarify. These are written purely as examples. If the participant's score is below 19, I want to consider it as low. If it's between 19 and 35, I want to consider it as medium. If the score is 36 or above, I want to consider it as high. I also want to save this as a separate variable. I want to conduct some analyses based on this in my study as well. This is our second example. The process we'll do here is the same as the one we'll do here. I just want you to reinforce this by doing it twice in this video, in this lesson. So what do we need to do for this? For this, what we need to do is, just like in our previous lesson, go to the Recode into different variables option under the transform menu. Go to this menu here. What happened when we clicked on this? We would create a new variable. By changing its categories, we would generate a new variable from an existing one. Here, we won't change the categories, but we'll create categories from a continuous variable. That's why we'll use the same menu again. In the window that opens when we click on this, we perform some operations. This time, which variable will we be working on? Here, we'll start by working on age. Since we won't be grouping in the same way, we'll handle the total score of the manager behavior scale separately to avoid confusion. Here, we moved age to the right side. We will create a new variable from age. We already know how to do this from our previous lesson. We can define it as an age group. First, we give a name to the variable. By the way, we need to pay attention to our variable name. We can't write a variable name made up of two words separately. We combine them with an underscore. We explained this in our previous lessons. Also, this time I want to write the label here. In the example we did before, we wrote it later in the label section here. But this time, I want to write it here as age group. Again, I click change. Then old and new values, we open this section. This time, we don't have an option like making 1 into 5 or 2 into 4. We have a continuous variable in our hands. We're going to perform an operation on a continuous variable. First, we will code 35 and under as 1. We will code it as category 1. This will be our first category. So what can we use? Here, there's an option called range. Lowest through value is a range. What kind of range? A range from the lowest, from the smallest value up to a certain value. If it's up to a certain value, then I can write 35 here. We tell SPSS to set everyone from the smallest age entered in the dataset up to 35 as the first category, and then we click Add. Lowest through 35 will be coded as 1. Then we'll set the ages between 36 and 49 as the second category. So there's also a range option here. That is, a range. What kind of range? From 36 to 49, we'll set the ages between 36 and 49 as the second category. Set up to 49 as the second category for me as well. We click Add. From 36 to 49. Then, from 50 to 59, we use this section again. Set the range from 50 to 59 as the third category for me and click Add. And then we need to set 60 and above as the fourth category. This time, we use the option over here. Range value true highest. In other words, it's an option that means to set the range from a certain value up to the highest value. For this, it's enough to just write 60 here. With this option, we specify the ages from 60 up to the highest age in this dataset. We can set this as our fourth category as well, and when we click Add, we see that the corresponding statement appears here. Let me also give you an extra piece of information. Here, without doing this, without performing the last step here, we could have selected all other values. In other words, we could have also set the ones that don't fall into these groups here as 4. After doing this, we now click Continue. After clicking Continue, we click OK, and the process we've done appears on your screen like this. I'm minimizing this now. We see that a new variable has been added as an age group, and I want to double-click on this age group like this. We see that it appears on our screen as 1, 2, 3, for like this. Now, what we need to do is write down here the codes for what each category represents before we forget. We come to this section, click on it, and select 1. What was our first group? We write it down, 35 years old and under. We wrote it like this. Then we click Add. 2, which age range was that? 36 to 49. 36 to 49. Let's write it correctly like this. We write 36 to 49 years old, like this, and click Add. Then, when adding the next group, we can also do it like this. You click on it and a text appears here. I changed the text here to 50 and over here to 59. I also changed this part here to 3 and click Add. This way, I do it quickly. And then, as the fourth category, I can write 60 years and above and click Add. Click OK. This way, I've finished defining the variable. Next, I want to do the same thing for the manager behavior scale. Again, I go to Transform. Then I select Recode into different variables and type Reset here. First, I clear it, and then I select the total score here. Where is the total score? Right here. I move the total score to the right side, and then I write it like this. I can call it YDO total underscore GRP. This time, I won't write the label after group. I click Change, and again, I move on to defining the old and new values. And first, from here, I select Range lowest through value. I wanted to code those up to 19 points as 1, so I click Add. Then, I select the range from 19 to 35 here. I tell it to set those between 19 and 35 as the second category, and I click Add. Then, for 36 and above, I select the option that means from this value to the highest, then I enter 3 and click Add. Yes, I take a look and check it. Then I click Continue, and then OK. And after that, I need to enter the codes here again. 1, I write it here like this, it means low, and I click Add. 2, it means medium, and I click Add. And 3, here it means high. I write it like this and click Add. Yes, did I write it correctly? I wrote it correctly. Click OK. Then this time, I copy the humanistic management approach label from here and paste it over there. I want the same label to be here as well. The only difference is that here we have the total score, while there we have the categories. In this way, we have also created the variable for the scale's total score categorically. So with these two examples, we have completed this lesson as well. I hope it was helpful. If you If you have any questions, you can ask them below the video. As always, I want to remind you again, if you like the video, I kindly ask you to show your appreciation. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I kindly ask you to subscribe. I wish you ease in your studies. See you in our next video.